Welcome to AnnexedDinnerTable Reviews. I'm Cassandra.
I'm Devin.
And today we're going to be looking at Harry Potter Death Eaters Rising from the Off. This one is going to be a co-op game where you are battling Lord Voldemort and his Death Eaters. And you are going to be, you start with one wizard and you go to a location. Voldemort does his thing with the Voldemort die that you roll. And he will add some corruption markers to your location that you're going to need to then try to battle away. He can add damage, as can his Death Eaters. And you are going to get some dice, certain number based on who you're playing, who you add to your team, and what type of faction you are, because the Order of the Phoenix gets 2 red dice, where Dumbledore's army gets 2 purples, and then 1 of each other. So just that, depending on what you're doing. And then once you roll your dice, you can place them on wizards that you're trying to recruit or wizards that you are trying to defeat. And if you meet their criteria, you either gain that wizard or you'll add a damage cube to a Death Eater. And once they have enough, they go to Azkaban. And then halfway through the deck, you pull out Lord Voldemort. So he has been seen and he's now able to be attacked. And you are going to try to attack him and ultimately end up defeating him. And that's the main basic rules. This one's super fun. I really love co-op games, and this one is no different. You're going to be having to figure out what you're doing on your turn, interacting with everyone else on their turn to try to have good things all around for everyone, pretty much.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of balance on trying to make sure that you're bringing every team member along, because even as the game scales to more and more players, you're increasing the liability on, the corruption markers that are being added and the attacks that are happening and things of that nature. So you kind of need everyone to be at their best strength in order to really keep the game moving forward.
Yeah, and I think the other wizards really help add what you're going to be bringing, because you can have someone who's really good and gets like an extra die at Hogsmeade, but there's, not great at,
Nocturnality.
Yeah. So you're just battling for, where should I be going? And it's a group effort to try to figure that out, because, all the bad guys might be at Hogsmeade or no one's at Hogsmeade. And you're just like, well, we really need to kill that last Death Eater so we can then kill Voldemort. And so you're fighting what everyone's doing. Should we spend one of our tokens to help you get that person because it's super important? Or is it something that, no, it's okay, we want to save that till next time because it's going to be more important later down the road?
Yeah, and I think there's also the balance of you might have all the Death Eaters at Hogsmeade, but the Ministry of Magic might be ready to be corrupted. So you have to go to the Ministry of Magic and deal with those corruption markers. Otherwise, it's going to roll over and you're going to lead towards endgame.
Yeah.
So yeah, really finding that balance of where should I go and what's more important right now.
And I will say I do find that it scales fairly nicely, but with most co-op games, it is more difficult with more players. There's just a lot more happening. You're in less control as an individual. So through everyone else's turn, things can spiral no fault of their own. But
well, and there's only so many really good wizards in the deck. So you start to dilute that the more players you add.
Yeah. But I thought that the concept was not original. There are quite a few IP rising games, Marvel Rising. There's a new like SpongeBob Rising. So the mechanics I would assume are very similar. So theme isn't necessarily like unique, but I think that IP was really great. I thought that they included it really well to make this one different than all the rest.
And the gameplay overall is not that complicated. It's not super simple, but it's fairly easy to learn and bring people along on the game. So again, this isn't one of those IP-based games where people who are interested in the IP, it's a transition into the hobby. So as with most of the Harry Potter games, it's you're going to get the fans who are going to be really interested because of the characters that they recognize, the locations that they recognize, and then the gameplay is for the hobbyists can use that to get their friends interested in the hobby. And if you're both, then it's a win-win.
Yeah, so definitely. I will say the art was fairly nice. It stuck with the movies, and I would say it spanned a lot of the movies because there were characters from movie 1 through movie 7. So you were able to see a whole bunch of different characters from the movies that you loved.
Yeah, and there's a wide variety of characters within the different factions. So it's really great. You can if you're really interested in the Patel twins, then they're in the deck and you can recruit them. So that's really interesting.
So I think that was super fun. And I think you were saying like getting people in. I would say that this is definitely a lighter game that you can play fairly young. I would say to really be able to play on your own and give good like strategy input, you're talking 10, 11. But I think to play, because it's that co-op style, you can roll the dice and do things at younger, I'd say like 7, 8 really.
For sure. And the great thing about co-op games is there's a difference between not winning and losing. And in co-op games, you collectively cannot win the game, but there is not one loser. And so in that vein, it's going to be more approachable for children who would feel bad about, losing to someone else, whereas you collectively just don't win. So that makes it a little bit more tolerable for younger ages.
But this is one of my new favorites. I'm a big Harry Potter nerd and love the IP. I like that ease of play, that it's just like you can just jump in with anyone without having to go over 20 different rules. You can just learn while you play, or you can spend 5 minutes teaching someone, and it's just great for that. And I'm super a fan of it right this second.
Yeah.
So that's what we thought about Harry Potter Death Eaters Rising. See you next time.